Hi there, this is Rima from Eureka Fabrics, and today I'm going to show you how and why to do a full bust adjustment. So what is that and why do you do it? Well, often when you're working with a pattern, when you do your muslin, you'll find that in order to make the bust line fit, you have to cut a larger size. But when you do that, that makes the neckline and the shoulder too big. So either your shirt is pulling across the bust or your shoulder seam is like hanging way down on your arm, and then you get these weird folds in here. So I'm going to show you how to fix all of that. And the good news is that it's really, really easy. The first thing we're going to do is choose what size to wear. And the way you do that is, instead of measuring your full bust right here, that's your full bust. And that's usually when we look at our measurements, that's usually the measurement we're looking at. But today, we don't want that. We want the high bust, which you measure around here. So it's like under your arms and over your bust line, so that what you're really measuring is the size of your chest, your actual like rib cage. And what that does is this measurement will give you the right size for the rest of you here. And then what we're going to do is adjust your pattern to make room for this part. Now, once you've got this measurement, you also need this one to find out what the difference is between the two of them. So for me, here are my numbers, and you'll see that there's 2 inches different between that. And so I have to add at least an inch to my pattern in the full bust area in order to accommodate the way I want this to fit. There's usually about an inch or maybe an inch and a half built into most patterns. Sometimes I don't take that for granted, and I'll just literally take the whole 2 inches, the whole difference. Especially if I don't know what the pattern does, or I try my muslin and it's like really, really tight here. So I could add from either 1 inch to 2 inches to the pattern to make this fit so that it's not too tight across the bust line. So let's say this is our pattern. Here's our front, here's our back. For now, we're just going to be working with the front, although I do want to show you one little trick for the back. So the first thing I would do is take my pattern and stick it up against my body to find out where the bust point is. Your bust point is usually marked on the pattern with a circle with a cross in it. However, depending on who you are or how old you are, this mark on the pattern may be in entirely the wrong place. So I like to mark my own so I know where the actual point of my bust is. And then we're going to do the easy part. The first thing we're going to do is draw a line from the bottom of your pattern up to the center of your bust point. Now we're going to draw a line from the bust point to somewhere in the armhole. It really doesn't matter, somewhere near the bottom, but you know, like if there's a notch here, it's going to be like near the notch. Again, it doesn't really matter where you put that line. You just have to stick it in there somewhere. Now, if you have extra wide hips like me, you're going to be pretty much done. We're going to cut from the bottom to the bust point, and then we're going to cut up almost to the armhole. Just leave a little hinge there. And now we can open this out and see how that's adding fabric right where you need it in the bust line. And for me, this is also adding fabric in the hips, which is what I need. We'll talk about the hem right there in a minute. But the cool thing about this is it does not change the size of the armhole or the shoulder or the neckline. So you've got the smaller size where you need it to fit you properly up here, but you're leaving lots of room here for the girls. Now, let's say I wanted to add 2 inches to my bust line in here. What I would do is measure from here to here and make that 1 inch. Because remember, this is only half of your front. So this times 2, if I take 1 inch, we'll have 2 inches added. Very cool. Now, if you don't have extra wide hips like me, you're going to continue on by drawing a line from the bust point out to the side. And then you're going to cut in this direction. So now, when you do this, and I add my inch right there, I can also do that and straighten out the hip. Now, you'll notice when we do that, all of a sudden you got this thing going on. What the heck do we do about that? Well, super easy. Just cut here to preserve whatever curve or whatever is on there, and move that down until it matches where you've moved the other side. So that is what your full bust adjustment looks like. And that opens up a dart here, which means when you cut this, you need to cut out that little seam allowance triangle that you see. You're going to need to cut that little triangle so that your seam allowance will work out properly. But then you're good to go. So if this is the right fit for you and you're going to want to do this all the time on that pattern, I would tape extra paper in there and make that your pattern for real. When I'm doing this often, what I'll do is, because I'm doing this thing, and sometimes I want it like extra wide, sometimes I want it looser, sometimes I just want, you know, the bare minimum there. Sometimes I might just do that just a little bit to bring it in a little bit if I don't want it that full in the hip. I won't tape this to another piece of paper because I want the option to just like move it around all the time. Every time I make this, I can make it a little bit different. Up to you. So now let's talk about how you're going to express the dart here. Sometimes if you're very busty, your dart is going to be really, really big. And that's okay. If you don't like that, make sure you watch our video on dart rotation. What the heck is that? You'll see. Oh my God, it will change your life. If this dart's too big for you, look at our dart rotation video. There's some solutions there. If you're making this out of a woven fabric, go ahead and take that dart. It's going to look just fine. It's going to be great. However, if you're making like a t-shirt kind of thing and you don't want a dart in your t-shirt, I'm going to show you a little trick. And this will work for anything that that doesn't have like a really gigantic dart. If you've got a really, really gigantic dart, this won't work. But for most people, here, I'm just going to hold those two together for the moment. For most people, this little trick is going to work. And this is what we need our back pattern piece for. So if you look at the front pattern piece kind of the way it was, and we see that the side seams match up like that, probably on your pattern, there's a notch, you know, like a matching notch right about there, like that. I am also going to draw in a notch up here because if you're working with a stretch fabric and you've got a dart, let's say after you do your full bust adjustment, it looks like that, I will ease in this fabric into the side seam. So I'll pin that together right there, and then I'll pin this one together right there and ease that fabric in. Like I'll stretch the back side so that it's the same length as the front side, and you'll be able to ease that fabric into your side seam and nobody will ever know it's there. It's magic. So that is how you do a full bust adjustment You can see just how easy it is. Your pattern should end up looking something like this when it's done. Or if you're me with extra wide hips, like that. And you just extend that line so that it looks nice. The other good thing that this does is that it not only adds extra fabric here, but it also adds extra fabric in the length in the front, because the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And if you're going over your bust line here, you need extra length. That's why the front of your blouse keeps hiking up if you haven't done this on your pattern. So I routinely do this on pretty much any pattern. Maybe I'll make a muslin first, but usually I'll do this before I do the muslin just because I know I'm going to need it. So there you go, full bust adjustment. I hope this helps, and we'll see you again next time.